Alrighty, well, looks like China for the last few weeks has been falling down, and now it's sort of going from to. As some of you know, the housing bubble's been unravelling over there. Well, it gets worse. The Belt and Road Initiative, about 18 out of 20 countries have defaulted on that. Having said that, some of them they wanted to default. That's why they got these like 7% interest loans that are almost impossible for these poor countries to pay. And instead of giving debt forgiveness, like the World Bank and the Europeans and all these sort of big Western banks do, the Chinese have a little clause written in there which says we're going to get your oil, we're going to get your mines, we're going to get your whatever if you default. Some of these Belt and Road initiatives were designed for people to default, but about 18 out of 20 countries have defaulted. But the big kicker is the housing bubble is falling apart terribly. Some of these houses people are paying mortgages on. If you hear this crap that people are paying mortgages on unfinished houses and they haven't been finished yet but they're still paying a mortgage and they're protesting to get them finished, no, that's wrong. A lot of them are 3 to 6 years off starting building. 3 to 6 years off even getting earth moving equipment to level the ground out and start digging the foundations. Yeah, that's how screwed it is. On top of that, these building companies, just like typical Chinese who, they always make everything flimsier than it should be, then try and overload it well above the rating on it. These building companies, by some trick, managed to borrow collateral against apartment projects that they had, while people had also borrowed mortgages against them. So not only did the so-called homeowner have a mortgage against the thing, against the apartment, the actual building company has had mortgages against the collateral of these building projects that they've already sold. So it's almost like you're a car dealership that uses loan collateral of cars that you've sold, regardless of the fact that somebody else has got a car loan on that car and they're driving it around. Except extended a little bit more psychotic, and all they've actually got is an order placed with the car manufacturer that's 3 to 6 years off being started on. And you've already borrowed collateral against just that bloody order confirmation, and the person who's getting the car is already paying finance for it, even though it's 6 years off getting it. That's how crazy it is. It's absolutely bonkers. High-speed rail, there's about 2 or 3 routes that are making profit of 2% above operating costs. All the others are making nothing. There's $1.5 trillion right there. The housing bubble's at least $1 trillion. BYD, electric vehicle manufacturer, the one that Warren Buffett and that were involved in, that they've since pulled out of. They removed the subsidies for electric cars. Buffett pulled out more or less straight away. People still claim he's got to move out some of his holdings. I think he's moved out most of them. I think he moved out most of them months ago when the subsidies were removed. You can look that up because I'm not 100% certain on that. But that's gone bankrupt at only $430 million value. We're not talking a bankruptcy of GFC proportions. We're talking $1.5 trillion here, $0.5 trillion there, $3 trillion here, $2 trillion there, another couple of... This is epic. Massive money. And in every crisis is opportunity. This is not financial advice, but if I were you, I would buy the dip. This is not financial advice, but come to understand asset protection, such as trust funds, such as corporations, such as... If I were you, I'd be so busting to buy the dip that I might even live on credit cards so I could use my actual pay to buy the dip. But that's not financial advice. if I were you, I would think about financial protection, asset protection in forms of companies, trust funds, and related stuff that you technically don't 100% own. Because a company or corporation is like its own person. And inside that, nobody owns it. Somebody founds it, somebody controls it. It owns itself. It's like its own person. That's not financial advice, and you need to talk to a financial advisor about it, like your registered accountants. Some people have accountants that also have lawyers and law aspects attached to them. Special people do. Anyway, I'm just telling you this to prepare for it all turning to shit. If you've been offered a shitty rate to go permanent and you think you're going to stay casual because you're making more, would you do that just before a major recession or another GFC?